What's up, YouTube? Third try. Been trying to record this video all afternoon. Been running into obstacles and all this other shit. So, housekeeping. uh, haven't been consistent. Dealing with life, dealing with illness, um, injuries. Everything's getting better, thankfully. So I'm gonna be more consistent. I'm gonna do my best to be as consistent with Saturdays as possible, or Mondays. Whichever day I can find to be most convenient is the one I'm gonna stick with. I understand that most people aren't watching my videos yet. That is because I am new and I'm still trying to figure out how to promote this shit. But once people do start watching, thank you. If you do, if you like it, thank you. Please comment, like, subscribe if you engage and you want to see more. Drop suggestions on what you want to talk about or what you would like me to talk about or whatever. I will do my best to interact, read comments, and go from there. All right, so moving on. um, ooh, I don't know. It's been a day. Um, Sorry, I'm trying to think. I didn't plan out, and I never plan out what I'm going to say on here, which could be to my detriment. But I want to be able to talk honestly, off the top of my head, and clearly about whatever's on my mind. This is a vlog. It's me venting. It's me talking about things. Sometimes it's going to be me educating on things that I know. Sometimes it's going to be me, doing other things. I haven't gotten that far yet because I need a little bit more. I'm still learning. I'm still educating myself. So please bear with me. I didn't have a topic. I had some situations and I thought I'd vent about it, almost like, you know, a journal vlog, but I'm not sure if that's the right thing to do because I feel like the way I feel about it right now, I might not do it justice and be fair to other parties involved. So I won't do that. I will say this. Um, Family and friends are important. If anyone is going to be able to support you first, it usually will be your family and friends. But sadly, the inverse or the opposite of that is true, which is the people who will hate on you and try to prevent you from succeeding or ignore you first are going to be family. Unfortunately. I think sometimes they do it out of meaning well. Sometimes they do it just because they don't know better. They just assume things about you because your family a lot of times will know you better than a lot of other people, but at the same time, depending on your relationship with those people, they may not really know you, just assume they know you. Uh, I'm a firm believer in proximity is not does not equate to familiarness or true knowing someone. You can be next to someone your whole life or hang around them or be in proximity to this person your whole life and truly not know everything about that person or understand how they think, how they work. Especially if you are not open to really trying to understand about that person. I experienced that today. I've experienced it in the past. And so it's not necessarily new, just that I'm better able to deal with it because I understand now how it works, how people work, and just what I need to do in moving forward. I'll probably elaborate on this story in another video and go into more details. I'm kind of being cryptic because, like I said, I want to be fair to all parties involved. But all I want to say is when you know you're trying to do something for people or express something that is important, don't don't what I'm trying to say. If you know when you're trying to present something, especially if it's someone you care about, like you got family members, like, hey, look, here's someone bringing this to your attention. You should be aware about it. It's important to know. Unfortunately, sometimes they're not always going to receive that, and they're not always going to want to hear what you have to say for several reasons. It could be they already know. It could be they think they already know. It could be they're just not interested. They don't want to hear it. It could be they don't want to hear it from you particularly for whatever reason. Um, there's a lot of different things that can go into that. It doesn't change the fact that if you feel it's the right thing to do, you should do it. And it doesn't, and it should not, I should say, it should not make you question your motivations when you know what you're doing and what you're trying to do is for the betterment of the people you care about and yourself. Unfortunately, they're not always going to pursue that. They may not want. Some people are very comfortable, especially if they're older and they've been living a certain way for a very long time. They're not going to want to hear you tell them, "Hey, it's probably a good idea to change your thinking on this because it will probably save your life or make you better prepared for what's to come." They may not always receive that. The hard part is knowing that you care about this person and you want them to be good and be well, and you're doing your best to try to alert them to that, and they're not listening. That's not your fault. It ain't your fault for bringing the news that you believe you need to bring people to alert them to things that they should probably be aware about. All you can do is do that. If they don't want to take it, the sad part is you have to accept they don't want to take it. It don't mean you don't tell them. It don't mean you ignore them. But it means, hey, they don't want to take it. Now, here's a caveat. Now, if they want to get disrespectful and rude with you when you know you're trying to do something good for them, then move on. And just let it go. And the reason I say move on and let it go is don't allow that person to turn what you're trying to do, a positive thing that you're trying to do, into a negative because they don't want to receive it. You did your part, move the fuck on. Let it go. They don't want to listen, they don't want to hear it. Don't let them not listen, they don't want to hear it. We all got to deal with the consequences of our actions. Everybody. No one's perfect. We all make mistakes. We all do things. We all try to, I would say most of us try to be better about what we do. Most of us are trying to better ourselves, but nobody's perfect. So if they don't want to listen, then move on. And if they choose to be disrespectful or rude or dismissive or flippant with it, then you never waste that energy on that person again. Clearly they need to learn the hard way. Let them learn the hard way. What I would say is don't let it turn into hate. It's very easy for that to turn into hate. But I found when you let it turn into hate, you poison yourself more than anybody else. So don't hate them. You can be mad. You can be upset. Just don't let that shit stop you from doing what you need to do to protect yourself, to do the right things, to handle yourself and handle those around you that you need to. Because you can't rely on that person for that. All you can do is hope, and if you're religious, pray that whatever needs to happen for them to see the light and change happens for them to see the light and change. Hopefully that isn't something detrimental, like someone losing a life or getting seriously injured. Hopefully that's just them taking some time to think through and understand, hey, what you're saying is right, and that they probably should look into it. And not because the goal of this was for you to be right, but because you're right because you're not trying to be wrong for the sake of being wrong or right. This is serious. It's something that can affect you negatively, and they should pay attention to it and take it a little bit more seriously. And if they don't, that's on them. It really is on them. You still got to deal with your own life. So do that. It don't mean you got to go out your way and hate on them. It don't mean you got to go out your way and shit on them. But it also means you don't got to sit there and take that shit neither. You don't got to sit there and beat your head against that wall. They want to be ignorant. Let them be ignorant. But don't waste your time going, okay, now you want me. No. You tried. They were flipping and disrespectful. Move on. Let them fend for that shit themselves. I think a lot of us here, we want to help people. We want, especially our family and friends, we want to enlighten them, educate them on things. Now, I understand that's not necessarily easy, especially in today's age, because look, I work a 9 to 5 like everyone else. I'm not this super successful guy. I'm not wealthy. Hell, I've recorded a bunch of YouTube videos and nobody's watched them yet. So, as far as physical accreditations of what I know, it's easy to dismiss. But if you take any time to think about it and look at the world, you'll see that what I'm saying is very true. And what I'm saying isn't about making money, but it's about protecting yourself from life and other things like that. Now, I'm being very vague, like I said, because I don't want to throw this person under the bus. They are a family member. And the way I feel about it being that specific, I don't think I'll give it the right justice. So I'm just giving y'all an overview. The message at the end of the day is still the same. Keep trying to educate yourself. Keep trying to educate those around you, especially the ones that you love. But do not beat your head against the wall for people who are overtly flippant or ignorant towards you and what you bring to the table, when you know for a fact that what you're bringing to the table is sensible and right to do. And that you're not coming from a place of ego or trying to be the leader or run shit. You're coming from a place of you actually give a shit and you care about what's going to happen because you know it's going to affect them, not just you. But if they don't care, then just worry about yourself. Focus on yourself. Focus on doing what you got to do. Focus on getting your shit right and just not doing that. You know, sometimes the best thing you can do is just focus on doing the right thing for yourself and making that shit happen, and then they can see that. And then when they decide to come around, let them come around. If you feel that way, depending on how they treated you when you try to tell them. If not, whatever. That's just on them. You can lead a horse to water. You can't make a horse drink. So there's no point in trying to force that on somebody else. You bring them that information. Do your best to explain it to them. Do your best to show them the light. If they choose to ignore you, all right, well, I did my part. And move on. That's all you can do. You know? And hope that they see it eventually. Hope that they understand it eventually. And get that, hey, you're coming from a place not of ego. But I find a lot of people who hold a lot of ego will assume that everybody else is coming from ego. That's just reality. Not necessarily true. But, alright, enough of that. What's going on in the world here? I've said it before, said it again. We, as black folks, we need community. I know I'm not the first person to say it. I ain't no originator in that, but it's true. I understand that everything didn't always work out in our favor. We've been fighting and things have been, we get so far and they knock it down. But I think the lessons we're taking away from that are wrong. The lesson we should take away from that isn't that community is bad. Isn't that we can't never do anything. The lesson is we are capable of doing things and we've done it. What happens is that when we gain that footing, when we start to do better as a community, as black people, we start to loosen our grip on the fight. And what also happens is the opposition is going to do everything in its power to keep us from getting up. But at the end of the day, we achieve so much in spite of it, which the lesson should be that we cannot throw away our community. We cannot throw away coalition and working together to make a buck because they're already working that hard to divide us. The lesson should be, if they're working that hard to divide us, that they're willing to convert people in our community, to convert other black folks into pushing their agenda. That should tell you that how strong and how powerful our community is. They have to use extreme tactics to try to come and destroy it. And that we should hold on to that way more than we do. The reality is, the way I see it is, black people, I think most black people want community. I think most black people want to feel together. We want to feel strong, at least as American black people. I can't speak for the rest of the world because I haven't been to every other part of the world. I've only been to a couple parts outside of America. And from what I can see, the black people there, from what I have seen, and it's very limited, I'll admit that, they seem to have a lot more community than in America. Now, I'm not trying to hate on us because I'm not doing this out of hate. I'm doing this out of, hey, man, we all know we need this. We all know we need to work together. We don't need to look to some person that's a leader. We don't need to raise up one person. We don't need another Martin Luther King or Malcolm X. There are a bunch of leaders out here right now trying to do things that get no support because they don't look like what we think they should look like. We very easily discard people in our community because they don't present initially like we want them to present. And what we end up doing is we line ourselves with people who present outwardly like what we think should be and ignore the actions of what they're doing behind the door on the other side of things. And the people who are actually trying to do good are not outwardly playing into a stereotype to ingratiate themselves with black people. And I think the reason being is just because those people, black, white, brown, or indifferent, are more focused on doing the right thing than trying to look right. I think our culture has a very huge emphasis on that. And that could be because of slavery and Jim Crow and systemic racism and all that other shit. It could be part of that. I think it's also part of our culture because we've been so ostracized that we hold certain things very important. Some of that shit I think is kind of silly. You know, yes, money is important, but it is not the only thing we need. We actually have enough. We just need to use what we have a lot better. There's not one super wealthy person that's the wealthiest person in the black community, but even though all of us don't have enough, there's enough of us with the little that we have. If we use that shit together with those of us who do have a lot, if those people actually step up and do the things that they need to do, we can legitimately protect ourselves in this country and do what we need to do legally to ensure that we have equal rights. We literally have the power. We've done it. The problem is that when we get that far, people come in and try to destroy it. The lesson that we should be taking from this is we are doing something right when we come together and we make things better for our community. That is what we're doing. And the reason that they're coming at us is because we are doing the right thing. But if we weren't doing the right thing, if community was bad, if coming together was bad, if working together to build something was bad, they would not touch it because it would already play into their hands. So that should be your sign right there about what it is. We also have to be careful of those in our group who are not really for us. I'm not calling no names because I don't think that's necessary. I think as black people, we all know a couple of us, and I don't say a lot because I don't think it's a lot. I think there's like one or two who are a little questionable. And I don't say this for us to start looking at each other with crazy eye because I think that's what the enemy wants and that's not what we should do. But what I am saying is we know the truth. We know it. I think, but we are afraid of being ostracized by certain groups because we may speak out against that person that's very popular. Because we want to fit in. We are afraid of losing our black card for calling out someone who may be prominent that isn't. But this is a new day. And the reason I say that is because we are being put into a situation legally where if we do not find our solidarity, if we do not find our community, if we do not find a way to build it, and it doesn't have to be super rigid in the sense of it has to be this one way to be black, but it has to have some important moral and foundational parts, as in we care about rights for black folks, we care about gaining equality. How do we go about doing that? Needs to be maybe not fully agreed on, but agreed on enough to execute things that are going to bring us to the next level. And I said this, I got on this new app called Fanbase. It's a social media app. I tried it out because someone else that I watched that I follow on YouTube said something about it. I don't really use it because I don't really like social media a lot. I think the way social media works is pretty bad. Don't get me wrong, and I don't want to downplay Fanbase. I think what they're doing is actually really good, but I don't feel I'm fully ready yet to really dive headfirst back into social media like that. I'm just dabbling my toes here and there. But this place has forums, and people get on and they talk, and we converse, and we were talking about what was going on in the world. And before I got off, listening to what everybody was talking about, I was thinking about the thing that where we fail is our ability to protect our communities and ourselves and those we hold up as leaders. And that is the lesson that we have yet to learn from this. And the reason I say that is because that's where we failed. We didn't fail in building the community. We didn't fail in building the movements. We didn't fail in getting the laws. We didn't fail in finding the leaders. Where we failed is when it came time to properly protect those leaders and vet those leaders or protect the movement when it came under fire, that's where we fell short. That's why Martin Luther King died. That's why MLK died. That's where a lot of these people end up disappearing. We were not good about protecting our own. And we need to be. The reason being is what you can protect, you can build and you can grow. Black communities that can protect themselves, and I don't mean we got to go out there and, attack other people. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is whoever we deem as a leader, we have to hold them accountable to what they do in the community. And when I say that, I mean, yes, like I said with the Martin Luther King thing, I didn't say it on here, I was talking to someone else about, when they released these papers on him, it may show this man slept around a lot. It may show he cheated a lot. And I'm pretty sure that there's going to be a large group of people in our community, I would say mostly women, and mostly the men who were already against that guy to begin with. They're going to use this as a way to say, see. I'm not really worried about the other races saying that because it's kind of expected of them to say that, and they've been saying it beforehand. But what I don't want people to do is throw the baby out the bathwater. Because here's the thing. There has to be a level of nuanced understanding that, and I'm not trying to do this to protect every person that's done evil. I want to clarify that. But I think here's the difference. Martin Luther King fought and died for the rights of people. He marched in the streets when people were getting hosed and dogs were released. People were stoning them. Police brutality on camera, just beating black folks for protesting peacefully. Anybody has seen it. You can look anywhere online and you will find out. You'll see pictures and photos. These people, Martin Luther King and his followers and the people that were there, they put their lives on the line every day to make it better for black folks. What we've allowed the powers that be to do is to turn him into more than just a man and make him a martyr. And they whitewashed that martyrdom. And what they're doing is trying to be like, oh, he was perfect and he did this. That's why they only talk about the I Have a Dream. You only now in the last 10 years or so start hearing about all his other videos and his other speeches, especially, after that speech and all the things he went through and realized that he was afraid that he was integrating black people into a burning house. They don't really play that. They don't want to tell you about that because the man had changed. He's human. His end goal was always for the liberation of black people, for black people to be on a level playing field for everyone. And originally he believed in integration. He got assassinated when he started moving over to, no, we can't do that because of what the powers that be have planned. That's when they got rid of him. And I'm 100% sure that when Trump releases these papers, now I could be wrong because I haven't seen them and I haven't seen the release of them yet, and we don't know what they're going to release, but just based upon what we've seen already been done and the rhetoric these people saying, they're going to try to make this man look like the worst human on the planet. And what I'm saying is we need a level of discernment to be like, what is real, what is false. His family and his state has already asked to see these papers before they're released. Now I understand that because they're going to want to vet it to make sure whatever's in there is honest and true and not some bullshit. I don't know how many of y'all are familiar with Marcus Garvey and his situation with the FBI and J. Edgar Hoover. Hoover wanted that man gone. So he was doing everything he could to ruin him. The ships that they bought, they sabotaged. All his business, they sabotaged. What we should learn from this as black folks is not just that they will come in and try to destroy and break up what we build. The other lesson that we're not learning is they're telling us you got to be better at protecting this. And that is what I think needs to happen. There needs to be a movement in our communities of we need to protect ourselves. And that's more than just getting a gun. I think a lot of people would like to distill that down into, I'm going to get a gun and I'm going to go to the shooting range. That's for personal protection in that type of situation. We need to start focusing on how do we better police our communities, as in understanding who's coming in and who's coming out. Understanding, hey, when one of us is out and alone out there, we are vulnerable to those who will come and prey upon us. And if you don't think this is coming, it definitely is. It already has started, right? And we know this. There's people talking about this all the time, right? I don't remember the name of the document. I need to look it up, and when I do find it, I'll do my best to kind of relay that in my next video or one of my videos in the future. But it's already been released how, you know, America, this has been a plan for them for a long time. They want to keep us divided. Project 2025 was just kind of like, here's a playbook on how we execute all this. What I find amazing is there's people who still haven't taken the time to look into it because it's 900 pages. And what I find amazing is, get me wrong, I haven't read the whole 900 pages, but I've been to the website, I've looked at the cliff notes, I've read shit. You don't have to do that to at least go in and get an understanding of what it's about. People heard 900 pages, and that was enough for them to be like, I don't even want to look at the website. I don't even want to try to browse it or skim it. And I'm like, you are choosing to be ignorant. You are choosing to ignore what they're telling you they're going to do. And that is a bad thing. Choosing ignorance will always lead you on a path of some level of destruction. I don't think most black people have chosen ignorance. I think for the most part, a lot of black people choose to be knowledgeable and understand. I think what we have, in a sense, of chosen ignorance is we are like, I'm just not going to do shit. Don't get me wrong. I understand why we aren't. Anyone who's really paying attention understands that what this administration wants to do is create such a state of chaos that it allows them to put martial law in. And then once that happens, it's full fascist regime from then on out. People may call me a conspiracy theorist and be like, no, that ain't going to happen or that can't happen. And I was like, why do we want to ignore history so much? Like it can't happen again. We are watching it slowly happen in our face, and people are still trying to be like, nah, that ain't gonna happen. That can't happen. That ain't gonna happen. That's copium. It can happen, and it will happen if we do not get ourselves together and organize. Now I say this, and I'll be honest, and I'm saying this in the sense that I haven't joined any groups or anything like that. What I'm in the process of doing is educating myself better so that when I do step into a group, I'm not coming in blind. Why? Because I want to actively be helping and being participating. So what I'm doing right now, I'm educating myself. I'm buying books, I'm reading books, I'm looking online, I'm learning, and I'm portraying what I have here on media. Is it enough? No, but I'm literally just starting. I don't have a lot of money and resources. So I don't want to come to these people just going, I'm a body. I still got to work and take care of shit. And I understand a lot of people are like that. So I don't fault people for not automatically joining up. What I'm trying to say is it should be in the back of your mind, and that we should be working towards that in our own personal lives. Working towards it. I know I am. I hope other people are too. And I know other people are. And the reason we should be is because it needs to be done. We have to protect ourselves. It's very hard to protect things as one person. It's a lot easier to protect them as a whole. Now, with all that being said is, prepare for some unfamiliar allies. And prepare for people who you thought were friends to be enemies. Some may be family. Some may be friends. You may find that someone out there you thought was an enemy may really be your friend. And the reason I say this is because we live in a world now where people don't really interact interpersonally, physically anymore, unless they're close friends and know that person for a very long time. Strangers don't really like to interact like that everywhere anymore. Where we do a lot of our interactions is on the internet, through social media and things like that. And that medium of interaction allows for people to be very easy to be false and not true. Or hold on to their thoughts and not tell you what they think. People are always going to put an image of themselves that they think is going to be the best light on the internet because they're trying to show everybody how great their life is, because that's what they believe is going to draw attention to themselves. And it's worked for some people. But reality very rarely is ever like what you see on social media. And we have to be knowledgeable of that and cognizant of that and use that as part of one of the filters that we do when we view the world and nuance things to understand what's going on and what's happening. A higher level of discernment. Doesn't mean we won't make mistakes. Doesn't mean people still can't overtake us or, like pull the roller ride. Some people are very good at this. But if we are a little bit more diligent and a little bit open-minded by being careful and knowledgeable, we can minimize that a lot or catch it before it becomes too damaging to us. And that's what I'm trying to say about that. End of the day is, for those that are out there trying to better this world, don't give up. You're going to face opposition, especially from people you know. I can say in my life, anytime I've thought about something that was a movement moving forward or wanted to do something, the people closest to me were the first to be like, nah, that ain't it. So I stopped relying on them for that shit. Sad, but it just is what it is. Do I hate them? No. Because I understand that, human nature is, if I can't do it, somebody else can't do it. It takes a certain person to be like, I may have failed, but that don't mean you will fail. It takes a special person or a special type of person to be like, I don't necessarily agree with you, but I understand our hearts are in the same place, so go do what you gonna do. I ain't gonna try to stop you. Unless I know what you're gonna do is going to be detrimental. It takes a special kind of person to be like, my ego ain't important. I'm trying to tell you some shit because I give a shit and I care. And it takes a special type of person to receive that. And unfortunately, everybody's not. It doesn't mean we got to go out there and hurt people. It don't mean we got to go out here and start outwardly dissing folks. I don't think that's the case. If we ever diss anyone or you go out there and outwardly, you should have a very good reason for doing that. Like, this person really is some low-down, dirty person. Not on some trivial bullshit. And I bring that kind of around to like the Martin Luther King thing. I have no doubt there's going to be some shit that's mainly going to be some sexual deviancy under him. I think most of it's going to be he had sex with a lot of women, he cheated a lot, and he was running around a lot. Is that a bad thing? I would say under normal circumstances, yes. If you're some dude who's living a perfect life, doing your thing, minding your business, and you can't keep it in your pants for the wife that you have, yes, that's a bad thing. I would say it's less bad and not excusable, but I don't want people to go, okay, so this man was an adulterer, he didn't care for black folks. That is some heinous ass bullshit, because two can be true. You can be a person who likes having a lot of sex, or you can have a person who's under a lot of stress, and this is the outlet that he uses to relieve that stress. I'm not trying to excuse the actions, but I'm also not trying to throw away how much this man did for black folks. And I understand these people are going to try to use this as a way to undermine his legacy. I believe they're going to try to use it as a way to undermine what he's done, to remove his day. I think what we're experiencing right now is an outward attack on black history. And I think there's been some strategic moves. And the reason I say this is, I'll use Diddy as an example. Everybody knew who Diddy was from jump. Rumors about Diddy have been going on since I was a little kid in high school, a teenager in high school. So that was like 20-something years ago. Only now is this man in jail for this shit. Ice Cube, I think, kind of hit it on the head. He was like, he's no longer useful. So, somebody above him kind of came after him. I think part of that is true, but I also think a lot of this is black folks in this country have garnered a reputation of excellence, and people like Diddy were faces of that. Self-made, millionaire, billionaire, successful businessman running industries that were, for the longest, not really run or faced with by black people. Yeah, they were the artists, but they were never the execs in the boardroom. I remember back in the day, in the early 2000s, it was like Diddy should run for president. Thank God he didn't, because we'd be in a worse place. And I don't think, and I'm not saying what Diddy didn't do what he did. I honestly believe Diddy did everything that he did, that he's accused of. But what I'm saying is, I think what we're seeing is people are playing chess. The far-right, the MAGA, the political pundits on that side of things have an agenda that they realize, well, we're going to push some crazy shit coming up in 2024, 2025. The world is not going to really like that. How do you get manufacture consent. Well, let's make the people that we want to get rid of or look bad in front of other people. Why do you think the music the music that America pushes mostly out of the black community is gangster music? Why do you think the most pushed black community or black folk TikToks is all crazy drama? Yes, it's created by black people, but why is it pushed more than other things that are created by black people? Black people don't just create drama-filled shit. There are a ton of black creators out there who are putting out positive information, who are putting out positive vibes, who are promoting self-help, and who are promoting growth in the healthiest, most positive ways. And they are not getting the same amount of clout as your red pill black guys who are like, all women are trash, because all women ain't trash. Or the misandrous black women who are like, all men are trash, because all black men ain't trash. Or all men ain't trash. I don't believe that. Or, everything is about building an empire. If that were true, if it's true that everyone should be a businessman, multi-millionaire, billionaire, king of their castle type shit, every man would have been. Historically, that is just not true. Historically, there's always been men who've usurped power and hoarded it for themselves amongst other people and used it to position themselves as higher than everyone else around them. It only took a bullet to kill them or stab them, and they used their resources to insulate themselves from that death and put them on a higher pedestal as much as anyone else. And those who did it in the most nefarious dictator authoritarian ways got there the fastest, but also died the worst ways. With the exception of a few people who they usurped, who they killed in worse ways. But, prime example, Hitler. Man shot himself in a basement bunker. You know what I'm saying? The guy who ruled the world, who was on Time magazine. And I think that's another thing that I think a lot of people miss. How many despots or crazy men have been put on Time magazine and relatively shortly after they've gone under? Hitler. Trump just got on there. Just look back. For some reason, this world likes to idolize men like that, and they label them strong men. And I'm going to say they're not really strong men. They're relatively smart, ingenuitive, devious. But if you look at Trump and you see a strong man, I have to question what you consider a strong man. He physically doesn't look strong. He's very aged. And if you're really a strong man, do you need to grab a woman by the pussy to get a woman? I mean, look at all the fucking dating gurus and all these other men. Well, none of those guys are like, you just grab a girl by the pussy, that'll get her. They don't. Don't get me wrong, a lot of these dudes are on some other bullshit too, but in their own circles of, this is how to be the guy and get the girl, you don't hear them going, you grab a woman by the pussy, you sexually assault them, and that's how you get the woman. It's funny, because they literally call those guys lames and losers. But somehow, when this man who's openly admitted to this type of shit is praised and voted as a strong man and put into office, it makes me question, what do you consider strong man? It should make everyone question what they consider a strong man who believes that. You want to get rid of illegal immigrants while importing other immigrants that just aren't brown or black. Make it make sense. I can. It's simple. You're racist. It's not that you care about illegal immigrants. You just don't want them to not be white. And I think it would be a lot better if he would just come out and say that. We're fine with illegal immigrants as long as they ain't brown or black. Just be honest. Why not? Because the reason I say that is this. The way they want to portray themselves is righteous and the right, and they're doing the right thing for America and people in the name of God. Jesus never hid what his intentions were. God never hid his intentions. Did he? Where in the Bible does it say the Savior of humanity is going to, wordplay what he really means and lie about it and hide it and try to, cheat his way into office? If anything, that's pretty much what the Antichrist does by the Bible. And I am not a Christian in any way. I was raised Roman Catholic. I had tried Christianity, but I'm not an atheist. I would say I lean more into an agnostic. I don't want to say I am Neil deGrasse Tyson. I think that's egotistical and, a little pretentious. But I would use his term, and I would say I am like in a sense, only because even he says this, and it makes sense. It's like he doesn't act like atheists. I don't act like atheists, and I don't really act like agnostics fully, like they do. When people ask me about God, I'm like, I have no proof for it. Doesn't mean that there isn't one, but I don't see anything that proves. And I'm a lot of times I'm very specific when I say I don't think if there is a God, I don't think that God works like what any religion says, because if that was true, there'd only be one, because you could confirm it. And because we can't confirm it, there's many. There's thousands. There have been thousands through time, and there'll probably be more. And from what I understand about how AI is advancing, they might be making their own religions that people might be following. Hell, we already have AI out there getting people to spend major bucks on them for things they probably will never do. So, yeah. Sad reality. But it's where we live. All we can do is do our best to make this world better. And a truly better world doesn't consist of one race of people. And definitely isn't run by just the wealthiest people among us. Because the wealthiest among us have proven time and again that they don't care about anybody else but themselves. And they're going to do whatever they need to do to maintain their wealth and power, even if that means destroying everybody else under them. They will throw everyone under the bus if it means them retaining their power. They've proven this and shown it to us time and time and again. But somehow, we ended up where we ended up today. And I think that just shows the lack of our failing education system, that it needs to be revamped, not just destroyed. Which all they're talking about is the destroying part. They're not talking about rebuilding it. And they're saying we're just giving it back to the states. What does that mean? Do the states have a plan? I haven't heard a single governor or senator say, hey, I have a plan. All I've heard is we're getting rid of DEI, getting rid of Black History Month, we're getting rid of this, that, and the other. And I've heard some people rooming, oh, we're going to have a Christian-based education system. Good luck with that. Because if you know your history, especially if you're Christian or Catholic, it was one of your own priests who was like, that ain't the right way. We need to separate them. Because when religion gets messing around with politics, crazy shit happens that you don't want to happen, that shouldn't happen. Religion should be on its own. Politics should be on its own. Because when you try to run a country religiously, you're going to run into problems. Because there's too many people to make live under one religion. And here's the funny part. All the most devout religious countries in the world are usually the poorest, freaking most crime-ridden, inequality-ridden places. Now, I want to use Japan as an example of an atheist country, but from my understanding, Japan, as well as it's doing, they have problems too. Their crime is a lot less, but they also hide certain things. So I'm not going to say anything's better on either side, 100%. But what I will say is this. We have to come to an understanding where just because you have a religion or faith, that's fine, and you can believe in it and live in it all you want. But when it comes down to trying to enforce that on the rest of the world, you should not do that. Because you're going to create problems that are going to come back to bite you. Hence the Crusades. Look what's going on in Israel. It's just crazy. You know? Instead of the people of Gaza being protected, our president's like, no, let's move them out of there. That's fucked. I feel for him. But the reality is, I live in America, and I can't do shit for them people over there. If I could, I would. You know, I'm a nerd. I like comic books and video games. So shit, if I had superpowers, trust me, I'd be out there using them to help people. But we live in a reality that doesn't exist. So all I can do is talk about it, educate myself, and try to put myself in a position of some level of power and influence that would allow me to do good for the people around me and those out there. And that is no easy endeavor. I'm 42 years old and I'm just getting into all this shit. And if I'm being honest, I'm getting into it because I fucking care and because I don't see anyone else around me doing anything about it. And because it may be a path that I'm supposed to go down. I don't know. But I feel strongly enough about it to even make videos and talk about it for, 45 minutes to an hour. So there's something here that is worthwhile that I should pursue. It is not about fame for me. And I know that seems made counterproductive because I'm recording myself in a YouTube video. But I don't know of another way to be influential in this. That is my limitation. I don't have a law degree. I'm not born into money. I wasn't born wealthy. Yes, my father was successful as a businessman as a child, but he didn't leave us shit. Just being honest, he didn't leave us anything. We gotta fend for ourselves. I am a regular working guy. I work a blue collar job. I punch a clock. And for many, that's enough of a thing to discredit me. And I haven't even talked about the color of my skin, which definitely disqualifies me for a lot of people. Unfortunately, even some that are my own people. Which is sad, but it just is what it is. Doesn't mean I'm going to give up. Doesn't mean I'm not going to pursue this. But it means that it ain't going to be no easy move. Impossible? No. Difficult? Yes. Worthwhile? I believe so. And the reason I say that is because I'm doing shit like this. This is the start. For me, I need to raise money. I need to raise awareness. I need to have, in my life, I believe I need to have some level of community and movement. And this is my attempt to build that community, start to build some type of revenue, and be able to use that revenue not just to enrich myself, but to use that as a resource to help others enrich themselves and protect our community and protect black folks. There's this really old saying, and I'm probably going to fuck it up. The stone that was thrown away is the one that we use to support and build the house. And I kind of feel like that may apply to myself. Why? Because as much as I've been discarded, not because, and I would say not any fault of my own, I'll elaborate that later on. I'm just kind of touching on that. Because I've been dismissed by a lot of people in my community because, I wasn't the hood kid. Because I was not seen as the guy that knew what he was talking about. Not because I was stupid or dumb. It's funny, most people don't call me stupid or dumb. When they hear me talk and they listen to me, they're like, no, you actually know what you're talking about. But they discredit it. And I'm just kind of like, well, it's weird. If you believe what I'm saying is true, and you understand I'm not dumb, then when I'm telling you these things, why do you dismiss it? I mean, look, if you don't think I'm smart, you can tell me I'm dumb and move on. But I'll be like, no, you ain't dumb, you're super smart, you know what you're talking about. But then they're like, hey, we ain't gonna do shit. And it's not important. And I'm just kind of like, what? Make it make sense. Please, make it make sense. But back to what I was saying. The stone that was thrown away will be the one that came back and built a house. So that's what I look like. That's kind of what I feel this may be. Now, will it be? I don't know. Time will tell. I'm going to work on it. This isn't I'm making some declaration of promise. I'm just telling you what I'm going to do. I don't know how it's going to play out. I'm just going to try. Try my best. And I hope it works. I hope that I'm able to reach people. Not to build my own name or clout, but reach people to get them to understand. Because here's the thing. I don't really want to be famous. And when I say really want to be, as in I don't want to be famous at all. I don't really care to be like the guy in front of everything. But I see too many people wanting to be the guy in front of everything for the wrong reasons. They want to be the guy in front of everything so they can be like, I'm the shit. Look at me. I'm better than everybody else. I got all the money and you don't. And that's not what I want. I want to wake up in the morning and know that when I walk out my house, I ain't got to worry about police coming after me because I'm black. Not because I broke a law. Not because I'm out here stealing or robbing or raiming, doing anything illegal. But because I exist as a black man in the world, because my family exists as black people in the world, I want to wake up in the morning and know, guess what? We're black, but we're regular people like everybody else. We get treated the same as everybody else, and we ain't got to worry about people coming after us just because of that existence. That's what I want. I just want to be fair. What we've always wanted. Fairness. I know life isn't fair, but this is not life not being fair. This is just people being ignorant and racist, and I'm tired of it. I'm tired of people pushing people down, not because they're not qualified, not because they're not good at their job, not because they're not capable or good people, but because they look like me. Even as much as we've gotten now, there's still that racism there. It's only covert now. It's not overt. And what they're trying to do is bring it back to a overt racism with the laws and the executive orders. And I'm like, I ain't trying to have that. Now I'll say this now. I don't want to fight nobody. I don't want to be aggressive to anyone. I'm really a peaceful dude. But I ain't trying to be punked. I ain't trying to be played. I ain't trying to be put in no chains. I damn sure ain't trying to be a slave. Part 2. This ain't gonna be slavery part 2. This ain't gonna be apartheid part 2. And as much as I don't necessarily fear death, I fear the part before death. Don't mean I want to see that now. But I understand that whatever comes, if it ain't good, I'm going to probably be opposed to it. If they ain't talking about true equality, true equity, peace, if they not talking about treating people properly and really meaning it, if we ain't on a path to, if this isn't that last dying surge of an ideology that's been around for fucking hundreds of years, and it has to end at this point, I'm gonna be fighting it, bro. I'm fighting it now as best I can. Sometimes that is just being silent and showing people like, look, I'm just here to do what I got to do. If you don't fuck with me, I ain't gonna fuck with you. But if you come for me and do some dumb shit, I'm gonna deal with it. And that's not a threat. It's not. That's what any person would do. I don't believe in attacking people. I don't believe in bullying people. I don't believe in, manipulating people into bullshit. Never have, and I never will. I believe that merit should be how we base things. And though all these people are talking about meritocracy and all this shit, we know historically that's just not been true. I believe for the real version of that, not this fake bullshit that we got. And they're trying to push. Because it ain't a real meritocracy when you're literally trying to get rid of people who have shown that they're qualified to bring in people who are less qualified because they're just yes men. That is not meritocracy. By definition, that is not a meritocracy. So I ain't gonna be for that. Never will. They're going to try, and I'm gonna leave it at this. I just want to make this statement. I don't have anything to back it up yet. I'm not gonna elaborate on it. And the reason being is because if and when people start watching this shit, they're gonna go look into it and try to figure out if that shit is real or not. And I'm sure there's gonna be plenty of people that come in and be like, nah, that's bullshit. But I'm gonna just leave it with this. If we do not get ourselves collected and together and organize a truly effective resistance against what these people are doing, In the next coming decades, prepare to see martial law, a true fascist regime in America, slavery once again, but it's done through our legal system by making people that look like me and a little bit lighter illegal or criminal. They're laying the groundwork for all of this now. That's why they ended birthright citizenship. That's why they ended DEI. That's why they ended all this shit. It's kind of like what Hitler was doing. If you weren't perfectly physical specimen, blonde hair, blue eyed, you were seen as less than. Now they haven't gotten to the blonde hair, blue eyed part, but when they got rid of DEI because they forgot the A at the end, what they're doing is diversity, inclusion, equity, and access. That affects more than just black folks. That affects every person who is disabled. That affects every person who is not a man that is white. That affects anyone that is not a white male. It affects everyone that is not a white male. And it astonishes me to no end that there are so many people who are not white males. And let me be frank, and I say this now, before someone goes and runs with this and turns it into something that it's not. Every white dude is not racist. Every white dude is not for inequality. I honestly don't believe that because I know some good white dudes. I just want to say that right now. Every one of them is not. That being said, your boys like your Musks and your Trumps, your Grahams, your Vouts, your Owens, your Candace Owens, your Kanye's, all these fucking people, they have bought into this shit wholeheartedly. I think people like Kanye and your Candace, they're doing it because it gets some clout. It's an ego thing. I think for Candace, she got badly hurt by white people in the past. And now what she's doing is, this is her way of, gaining some type of relevance and clout and feeling empowered. She was like, if I can't beat him, I'm going to join him. I think something a little similar for Kanye, but I think for Kanye, this is him being like, I just want to make money and be controversial. And with his mental issues, his bipolarness, and all this other shit, it's like, why not? Because this man just released a fucking shirt that had Roster on. 2025, if you don't believe we're in the upside down, we got a black dude trying to push Nazi merchandise, talking about, I've been wanting to make this shit for forever. Pushing it on Twitter. And if that doesn't tell you that this man is crazy and that we need to really reevaluate things in our lives. Now, I'm not saying this needs to be like double down and Christian values and shit like that, because I think a lot of that shit is what brought this about. You know what I'm saying? I think what Christianity has done, or has tried to do and has been quite effective, is monopolize morality. By saying that the only way you can be moral is by being Christian or following Jesus. When we know factually that Christianity is not one of those religions, and people have been following moral decisions and reasoning far before that, and will probably far after it. It is not the moral center for morality. It just isn't. Hinduism was around long before it. Hell, if you look at ancient religions like those of Egypt, which, arguably people still argue with, like, is it black people? But if you look at them hieroglyphics, some people were brown, bro. And not like the light brown that you see now in Egypt. Them motherfuckers were dark. They were damn near my color. So you can ignore the shit all you want, but it's more likely they were black. And they took all that shit. The floods, the virgin births, and all that other shit, and they turned it into a religion they could use. And I always go back to Constantine. It's like, bro, right there. We know for a fact the Bible as we read it today was first created by Constantine because he said he had a dream, and then later rewritten by King James. Poorly translated, turned into a very powerful religion. Now, don't get me wrong, there were, Ethiopia has their Bibles and their Christian Bibles, but those don't get into circulation the same way as the King James ones do. Now, I think there's a reason for that. You know, I don't really know. I can speculate, but I do believe in the end there's some reason for that. Now, why Ethiopia won't, I don't know. Maybe what they know could be detrimental to them, or maybe they want to hoard that religion for themselves. But I'm like, if y'all know that your God is the one true God, and you know there's a bunch of people out here misusing your shit, why would you not speak up on it? That's my question. Now, maybe they are, but because the way the world works and because the way media works, they're just not saying anything, and I just haven't found it or seen it. But I've never heard or seen anything, so I don't know. I can at least attest to hearing, whisperings and rumblings and rumors of other things that I thought were interesting, but on this, nothing. So that's something to think about. But yeah, we have to really, really, really stop and reflect as individuals and as a community as to what we want for ourselves and for our community. And we have to look beyond ourselves, because guess what? Individuality worked and is necessary, but it was most successful when we could live like that. They're trying to make it so that we can't live like that. Some people ain't going to go back. I understand why you wouldn't. But throwing away community, throwing away solidarity for monetary gain in a system where they already have set it up that if you look black or brown, you can only get so far, you might want to reevaluate. And the reason being, as I'm saying, is no person got to the top alone. As much as they want to tell you that, as long as you want, he's self-made and he did this and he did that, or they did this, or she did this and that, and she did it all on her own. The reality is, when you really look into it, they had help. Not saying they didn't have to work, not saying they didn't have to believe in it fully for themselves first and apply a lot of shit to get there, but it still took people opening doors. It still took people believing in them. Even if they had to convince those people to believe in them, it still took others to get them to where they are. Just is what it is. 50 Cent didn't get it on his own. Now, he had help. He almost died. But he still had help. Dre and them, Tony Yayo, Young Buck, there's a lot of people. Just look, he had help. Not to take away from what he did, but for some reason, people like to ignore this, even though we know it's there. It's like they say it, but we still end up turning around going, oh, you're self-made. Is he? No. Yeah, he's famous. He's the face man. He did a lot of shit, but everything he didn't do by himself. He had help. If people didn't mentor him, if he didn't read books, if he didn't have help, he would have never got there. You can only get so far by yourself. You may have to start on your own. You may have to run a lot of it by yourself. But to actually get to the top, to actually achieve the thing fully to the level we want to achieve it, no one black person can do that by themselves in the state that humans live in. It is impossible. Until we figure out magic and superpowers and all that other bullshit, it just ain't gonna happen. So stop holding on to that idea. It just ain't gonna work. But also, don't use this as an opportunity to try to manipulate and push people for your own nefarious agendas. Come pure. Come real. Come with an agenda or an idea that's going to help grow us together. Now, I know people are like, where's my idea? Well, I'm working on it. Trust me, I am. I'm trying to figure that shit out. But I also realize that I'm coming at this new. Baby new. So I got to educate myself. And that's what I'm doing. But in the meantime, I know enough to be like, bro, we got to do better. Because it don't take a scholar to understand that where we're at, we need to do better. I'm not the only person saying this. I'm not the first person saying this. So, yeah, let's work together. Let's find a way to put aside our differences. Let's find a way to put our egos to the side and really come together, because it really means the survival of all of us. You hate another motherfucker so bad you watch everybody die so he can die? That's some real petty shit, my man. And it's weird because in this day and age, we love petty. When I grew up, we never used to like petty. I remember being a petty person, you got called out. Being petty, being low-minded and low-brow, you were seen as less than. But for some reason, that's what we go to now. For some reason, that's great. And not saying people can't express themselves, not saying people have got to be perfect, because no one's going to be perfect. But there should be some consensus of at least an attempt or an achievement or a drive or a push to a greater good. We've always had it in us. Everything that black people have done good in this world has not only benefited black people, but everybody else around them. And yet still they come for us. Why? Because they know we're the most influential. We can do it all. Where we fail is our ability to protect it. We are strong in our ability to create change and positive change and make the world a better place. Where we are weak is in our ability to protect the efforts and the progress that we have made. That's where we need to build our strength up more. Maintain that part of our ability to, influence and change and push the world into a better place. But while we maintain that, better ourselves in our ability to protect those things so that they can't be usurped and whitewashed and dismantled and turned into something that will be used against us. Because that's what they do, because we're not good at that part. So if we get good at how we defend ourselves, not just as individuals, but defend ourselves politically, legally, socially, intellectually, culturally. And that doesn't mean we have to become racist and xenophobic. It just means that we have to be able to spot this shit. Not just a few, but more of us are more universal being able to spot the bullshit when it comes. A more universal effort to call it out when it comes. And a more universal effort to legitimately stop it when it comes. To not let everybody just get a card in the black community because they good at dancing or rapping and they not black. Don't get me wrong, music is music. I love music. And there's some white rappers out there and artists that make great music and I love hearing it. But there's a bunch of them that are just using our shit for clout and they don't give a fuck about us or our history. And they some of the racist motherfuckers, but they know this shit make money, so they using it. And just because a motherfucker now knows the formula about how to make a good rap song or how to make a good rap beat, motherfuckers just jump on the bandwagon. But that person ain't got no care for the culture in any way. They only here to make a bag. So we should stop doing that. It don't mean we cancel everyone. I wouldn't cancel Eminem. I think arguably Eminem is one of the greatest rappers. But why I wouldn't cancel him is not because I don't personally put him in my top 5, put him in my top 10, but because I know his character. He understands how the system is. He's vocal about it and came out and said it. How many other white rappers have done that? And I'm only bringing that up because there's a clear difference. And we have to be better at spotting the difference. Not just with people who don't look like us, but especially with people that look like us. Snoop Dogg. And it's crazy because he's on record before what he did talking about who's the first one that's going to jigaboo their way up there. And he turned around and jigaboo for some paper. Because in his mind, if I got enough money, I can get out before it happens. Maybe he can. But it shows you he don't give a fuck about us. He never did. Now, there could be reasons for that because I get it. It's Snoop Dogg. He was culturally relevant for a long time. He older now. He don't get played like he used to. He don't get the same love in the community because he ain't as relevant. The people that love him now are white folks because the reality is they are always late to the trends that we create. That's just a fact. So, of course, he going to bandwagon with who going to give him money because that's his MO. That's what feeds him. Don't get me wrong, we all need money, but we don't all have to worship it like that. Willing to sell our soul, sell out our community. And it would be different if he was always like that, but he wasn't. The man was vocal talking about, don't nobody do this shit, it's bad. And all of a sudden now he on the bandwagon. What changed, Snoop? And I'm a nobody, but still, what changed? Tell me. I'd like to know. What made you change so quickly? And if it was just the money, then that lets me know you was never for us. You was going to use us to be for us. Maybe at one time you were, but you spent so much time being wealthy, you are no longer for black folks. As a whole. And two can be true. You could have been for us, you could have done great things, but the other part can be you could change, because that shit happens all the time. People change. People always change for the better. Whatever it is he's showing you now, he ain't the same as he was. So we have to be better at vetting those things and seeing those things when they come up on us before they pull the wool or over our eyes or the rug out from under us. And yes, we are resilient, but these people are learning. And I think it will be to our detriment to underestimate how far they will go and what they will do to reach their agenda, especially when we are not doing anything really actively and cohesively to fight back and protect against it. There are literally like, how many million black people in America? All of them ain't, I don't give a fuck. 20% voted. That's 20% of those who voted. How many didn't vote? How many black people in this country ain't for the bullshit? I think there's more black people who just like, I'll just let shit play out and see what happens. And there are people who are like, I'm either here to help or hurt you. So I'm not really concerned with those who want to damage us. I'm concerned with them enough to be like, we have to be able to spot them and keep them out the way. Beyond that, do what y'all got to do. I'm more concerned with those black folks out there who are like, it ain't worth doing anything, or they're just so apathetic to this, they don't want to do nothing. I can understand feeling that way. I've been there. But I realize the older that I get, we have to take some level of action. There's no one that's coming to save us as black folks. The only people that are going to save black folks is black folks. That's just a fact. So it's almost imperative for us to come together, because that's how we succeed. I think out of all the races in the world, everyone else kind of gets it, except for us. And part of that is because the rest of the world has done such a good job of trying to keep us from getting that. And I think the reason being is because I think somewhere in the back of the minds of these people, and in the front of the minds of those who are actively trying to subvert us, they understand that once we organize and come together, black people are unstoppable. We are the one race of people on this planet that if we actually truly get together, like other people get together, at the level that other people have gotten together, we will run shit indefinitely and do it better than anybody else in a way that isn't as bad or as nefarious as anybody else. Because the way we'll run it is, we don't got to put you down. We just gonna outshine you. We're not gonna tell you can't get here. Come on up. And it ain't gonna be we gonna try to stifle you from making it. It's gonna be like, we going hard. Keep up. Because we really will go hard. How do you know this? Because in this day and age when everything has been against us, how many of us have made it to the top of things? There are black billionaires. You don't hear about them because they don't want you to hear about them. The reason they don't want you to hear about them is because it would inspire you to do better. The only ones we hear about are the ones that's going to jail. Like Diddy. Not the ones, we don't hear about the black billionaires in tech. We don't hear about the black billionaires in business and finance and all these other things. They don't want to tell you about them. Because you know, if they inspire you with those black people, more black people move into that. And once more black people move into that and start collating and working together and doing things, we do things so well. It benefits everybody. And I think a lot of the hate comes from the fact that nobody else believes. A lot of other races know they can't do it like that. They don't have that ability to, when they do something or when they come together, that it doesn't just enrich their people, it enriches everyone around them. It's almost in our DNA that when we do something good as black folks, Not just black folks benefit from it. And that's why they want to keep us down. That's why they want to suppress us, because nobody else can do that. They know if black people get into power, we will not lead out of fear. We won't have people liking us because they're afraid of us. People will like us because they will love us. People will like us because they will embrace us, because the things that we will do, the things that we have done, we are embraced. We get love. Right? From everybody for it. Because they didn't expect us to get that far, and they didn't expect us to do that well. But every time we do, they love us, because it's like, damn, y'all came from the gutter and did all that. But at the same time, a lot of them hate us because they're like, damn, it didn't work. We did everything we could to hold you down. We did everything we could to suppress you, and you still fucking made it. And they realize if they can keep us divided and self-hating, then that next level of success and excellence and growth and goodness that will come out of our community, they can stop, because they get to be in power if everybody isn't doing well. But they know full well if black people get into the position of power that we've been seeking and trying to get to, everybody does well. And what that does is, when everybody does well, you can't look at somebody as them being under you. You can't subjugate someone if everyone's doing well. And I think they know that black people, when we do good, it makes everybody do well. And you can't hold on to that power like that. Because if everybody's doing well, people just be like, yeah, whatever, I'll move on. Okay, whatever. We all doing good. And the reason they want to leave us in power is because they know we all doing good. But people don't want that. Some people just want the power for themselves. Some people just, they're so ego-driven, they're so insecure. And what's the crazy part, it wasn't created by us. We didn't create that insecurity in them. They created that insecurity in themselves. And they met a race of people who showed them that we can be better without trying to subjugate somebody else. Don't get me wrong. If you look at the history of Africa, there was war, there was slavery, there's all this kind of shit. But there was a lot of like, we come together, we work together, we build shit, we do better. And we don't got to go and usurp anybody else's land or take anything from anybody else to do better. We just make it work. We find ways and make it work. And I'm saying we need to apply that now in finding ways and making it work in our ability to defend and protect ourselves and our communities. Protect those that are in positions of power that are out there doing things for us. You know what I'm saying? Understand and know the nuance in what is this person doing that may not align, that if they're doing it, it really is detrimental, or it may just be a human flaw. And the reason I say that is like, all right, if the man is a spiritual leader, but he out there molesting and raping people, yeah, get rid of that guy. But if he's out there and he taking blows and physical attacks and life-threatening shit, and he can't see his wife every day and decides to, you know, sleep around with somebody, is it wrong? Yeah. Could you call him out? Yeah. But do you erase his legacy for that? Hell no. Hell no. Because you tell anybody who's out there risking their lives every day to better everyone else, that if they are offered something like that, especially a dude, this man was young, he was virile. Now, I'm not excusing his actions. What I'm saying is both can be true. He could have been an adulterer and a cheater, and we need to call him out on that. And that does not need to tarnish the goodness he did for our people. Because guess what? Unless this man was a pedophile, a rapist, or anything like that, I don't give a fuck. And the reason being is because if he was cheating on his wife and sleeping with people, it takes two to tango. These women weren't forced, they wanted it. Arguably because he's Martin Luther King and he's famous. He still took advantage, but he did not force himself on anyone. At least I don't know. The reports aren't out yet. So if that isn't the case, we need to look at this nuanced. My phone about to die. And I've been talking for over an hour, and I just want to leave you with that. Again, we need to find better ways to protect our movements and our people. We need to find better ways to vet our movements and people so they are not so easily dispersed and dismantled by the opposition. We need to get better at understanding who our allies are and who our enemies are. Because just because someone makes you feel good does not mean they're your friend. And more often than not, that person that's out there telling you the truth and it hurts your feelings isn't your enemy. But that's it. I'm at an hour and 20. I'm done. I love y'all. Y'all catch me in the next video. Be safe. One love. Bless up. Deuces.